And with that, I want to say welcome to Terry Moran. Terry is a retired Navy. He commanded a squadron of drones over the Horn of Northern Africa. Guess he's a spy. No, he was making sure that everybody was safe. And after two tours of duty in Iraq and other various adventures, he came home and he started this program called Sailing for Veterans. And I learned about it when he applied for a grant through the St. Francis Sailing Foundation. And I think it's a worthy cause. I think it's wonderful. And I hope that the more people who know about what Terry's doing and the people who are assisting him, the better. And yeah, I'd like to see everybody get involved. And I think our own Alan Olson is on the board of directors, if I'm not mistaken.
He's an advisor.
An advisor, okay. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry Moran. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you so much, Mo. I appreciate it. And good evening, everybody. It's a treat. It's a privilege to get to talk to you tonight. Mo, thank you very much for that kind introduction. It's always wonderful to get a chance to tell our story and share it. And each time I do, it gets easier. So please feel free to ask questions. What I'm going to do is talk for about 15 or 20 minutes about our program, show you a short presentation, some of the pictures from our recent event, which was a rechristening of a boat we're restoring, and then open it up to questions. There may be some interest on the progress of our restoration or whatnot. So I'll be glad to answer that. I'm going to share the screen now, so bear with me. And Mo, am I good to go on the screen?
You're all set.
Okay, great. Well, our program is called Wooden Boats for Veterans, and I founded this in 2014. And go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit why I did that. First, who we are and why. We're a nonprofit private foundation based in Sausalito. We were founded in 2014 and got our IRS exemption letter the following year. We were founded by myself and a few of my friends who have served in the Army, Navy, and Marines. And we really wanted to find some way to keep serving. There in the bottom is a picture of my mother and father and I on the occasion of my retirement after 28 years of service in the Navy, which I'm very proud of. I'm an immigrant originally. My parents emigrated from Ireland when I was small. We came to San Francisco, and then in the 70s they had a wild idea to buy a 48-foot Alden and live aboard in Pelican. In those days, I had a real idyllic childhood. One of our neighbors was Sterling Hayden, who was an unforgettable figure, if you recall the name. Wrote a wonderful book called Wanderer, which was a very important book for me in my life. You see there on the right aboard my first wooden boat is my father, Fergus Moran. He gone from us here, unfortunately. But he was a retired ship captain in the Merchant Marine, British Merchant Marine, and then emigrated here and had a life on the waterfront that was pretty colorful. He was a guiding vision for me in getting into the restoration of boats large and small. And that's the principal reason I keep doing this, really, is to apply what I was fortunate enough to learn. So I guess you could say I have that unique sort of background where because of being a veteran, I have a real passion for giving back to veterans. I think they're a wonderful class of people. My son, incidentally, serves in the Marines. I feel a connection to those people and want to make sure that something is being done all of us who know boats and understand what they can do for us, understand also the community that gets built around boats. And so I thought, well, what a wonderful thing to weave together what I'm good at with what I want to do. And that's the essence of Wooden Boats for Veterans. So in constructing a program around that idea, what we started with was actually just taking folks sailing on my own boat, which I'll show you here in a minute. She's a 45-foot Sparkman Stevens. And we had a lot of fun doing that. And we got the idea to include in our sailing operations the restoration. We thought there are some folks who just want to come down and use their hands, be exposed to a new skill, a new trade, be able to step back after a day's work, point to something they worked on and say, I did that. That feels good. And so that's served by our restoration program. We then thought, well, that's great to take folks sailing, but how about teaching them a little bit about sailing so we can encourage them to come back? So we brought that online. And then, of course, there's all the other things that go along with making sure you have a first-class program, the nonprofit management, the administrative, the social platforms, and all of that's in there too. What ends up out of those programs are the deliverables. And we like to say that that's centered around one idea. Whatever problem you're having in life, just add salt water. That's our motto. That's our tagline. That's our sort of opening to veterans who wonder whether or not this is for them. So try it and see. Just add salt water, and it tends to work. And so we work on teaching these sorts of elements that are already familiar to veterans from their own service. It might be that they've become isolated since serving, or as a result of their experiences, they might have a little bit of trauma that is sort of preventing them from reconnecting to other human beings. And so we're coaxing them gently into that which they already know, reestablishing trust, and giving them some renewed confidence. We don't set ourselves up to be therapists by any means. We're certainly not a political organization, too, for that matter. We're just there to listen, to share experiences, teach a little bit, and to be taught in return. And so on the results, some of the impact statements there are on the left. We've had some wonderful people, and you wonder whether you're benefiting them more or you're getting more of a benefit, because you really do have some wonderful experiences as a result that you get to experience, I suppose. I'll use the word again. We've met folks that have served in the Vietnam War, the Korean War, actually, Gulf War, all the way up to present day. And one of the most impactful programs that we'll discuss in more detail is the Veteran Justice Court program for San Francisco County Superior Court. We've taken quite a few veterans who have graduated from that system or that program, which is essentially a partnership between the VA and the court system to provide a pathway for veterans to pay their debt to society, but also receive counseling and treatment, and eventually to be able to pay that debt off in a responsible and appropriate way that recognizes their service, their potential. And so we're proud to be part of that. So At the moment, we're really focused heavily on the restoration side of things because of the phase we are in with the project we've undertaken on the Clover. Sailing vessel Clover was and is a 68-foot gaff-rigged cutter. It was built in 1938 in Hamble, which is in Southampton, England, by A.R. Luke Brothers. And she was built for a Royal Navy Reserve officer, a rather wealthy gentleman who was going to use her as his private yacht. Of course, 1939, war broke out, and any vessels of any meaningful size were immediately of interest to the British government, and Clover was one of those vessels that was brought into service. She has still, and you can see in the upper right, sonar gear fitted to her hull. There's a big bronze plates on either side of her hull amidships. And then you can see that's happens to be a piece of what they call ASDIC transmission gear. So that's still fitted inside the boat. The records are sealed as far as what she did. She did secret stuff. She, we gather, did a bit of minesweeping. We think that she also patrolled the waters of Western France, probably keeping an eye on the comings and goings of U-boats while posing as a fishing boat. It's not just a fanciful idea. We've got no fewer than 7 former shipmates of Clover who have come forth, finding us out through social media and whatnot. A few of whom have sailed with the original owner going back to the 50s. Said he knew the waters of the approaches of the channel in Western France like the back of his hand. And so we're not done with trying to find out that piece of Clover's history, but she did some meaningful service and dangerous service during World War II. Afterwards, she passed through several hands. She was at one stage owned by a family, a British family, who took her to Jamaica, raised their young children aboard the boat in the 60s. In the 70s, she got into the charter game, and she was sailing out of Grenada and then passed through the Panama Canal in the mid-70s, wound up in the Bay Area. You can see her metamorphosis during that period. You can see in the top left picture from Beacon and Cows, which is circa 1951 or 2 of her as her original sail plan shows. And then in the 70s, we were able to find a picture of an advert of her as a charter vessel. And there you can see she's a big, full-blown Marconi cutter with an enormous mast, which we still have. So you can see some of the before pictures, and we've been at it for 4 years, done quite a lot of work, and I'll just show you what she looks like today. And this is Clover on November the 11th, Veterans Day, when we rechristened the boat in she's had 9 planks replaced. She's had 9 floors back aft removed and replaced. A whole host of through-hull valves. Her engine taken out, overhauled, repainted, put back in, aligned. The list goes on. She's now presently waiting for her rig to go back in, which we are planning to do in April of this year. We're going to cut down the mast and restore her to her original gaff rig configuration. And then we'll also be restoring the deck by putting on a hardwood onlay or inlay veneer to give her that traditional look back on deck, but also be watertight. and then strengthen by sistering or outright replacing a few of her king beams. Some wonderful pictures that I'll just briefly share with you. That's the core of our group there, our stalwarts. I have a number of pictures that I'll show you briefly. I think actually I need to go to the album in question here. Let me just see. Yeah. Ah, there it is. Yes. That there happens to be Patrick Mulcahy of Foss Maritime Tugs. He has been doing instrumental work. Right there, he's admiring completing all of the lifelines that he put back in, splicing all of them. Came out really beautifully. That's my long-suffering wife and I down below. We were able to restore, with a lot of her elbow grease, frankly, the original shine of the Georgian furnishings and paneling. It really is striking down below. And we have reupholstered the boat down below as well to make it more inviting and usable. You can just see the magic of the boat. You know, when we got the boat 4 years ago, she was sinking, and she was destined to be broken up if we didn't take her. And she had a whole lot of problems, and you saw some of the before pictures where she was all one big dark grayish black color up on deck and a lot of wet, soft wood and dim prospects. But then we went down below and we saw this and we thought, well, that's an inspiring boat. And we can get philosophical about how we need to reuse and restore boats, and we need to do that with people too, don't we? So it's a good metaphor for our program. We had a lovely day. That happens to be my academy classmate from the Naval Academy, class of 1988, James Johnson, wonderful guy. And we've had some wonderful people that we've met there in the center. Don Shalvey with the Gates Foundation and a regent for the University of the Pacific. He's been very instrumental in opening doors for us and helping us with nonprofit management and formation. On his right there is Stephen Merrill. He's with Veritas Capital. He's one of the original investors for FedEx and Paychecks. And he's been a good supporter for the program as well. It was a beautiful day. We won't show all of these, but we had a lot of camaraderie. There's Mike Hogan with his back to the camera. He's Air Cav, Vietnam, 1968, Bronze Star, 2 Purple Hearts. The typical story, 19 years old, drafted. He's speaking to Brian Rafferty, a Navy SEAL, Afghanistan veteran. Spent a lot of time in the early stages with my father, working side by side, just quietly, working on a boat, dealing with whatever he was dealing with, but keeping his hands busy. Air Force Alex Salagub, who happens to be Vice Commodore at Golden Gate Yacht Club and is activated back on active duty at Travis Air Force Base. That gentleman there, who is so nattily dressed, that's Greg Mendez. He is the Assistant District Attorney at San Francisco Superior Court for the Veteran Justice Court. And so he's on the prosecution side of the Veteran Justice Court. But I've had him out sailing, shoulder to shoulder, washing down the boat with veterans that he's met on the other side of the bar in court. They all respect him, and he has been he's an Army brat, and his father was at the Battle of the Bulge, so he gets it. And he's been a wonderful supporter and a fine man. We were able to just share a lovely day. There's some pictures. Of course, we had to give King Neptune his share, and we also gave the boat its share of some Irish whiskey. That's required. And we did some, oh, this is a lovely picture right here, if I can go back. This is Katrina Raleigh, was one of the shipmates on Clover that took her through the Panama Canal in the late 70s up here to the Bay Area. So at that time, I'm sure she was a young adventurous girl in her 20s. And so there she is telling us a story of some times on board Clover. Just a remarkable, the cross-section of people that this boat brings together, like wooden boats tend to do. It's just been real magic to be part of that. We were able to give some plank owner awards to those folks that have helped us the most. This happens to go to Tom List of List Marine, and his son Hans, who runs the business now, have been great consultants and supporters for us. Couldn't recommend them more highly. Frank, a Navy vet, a submariner. Not only does he come every Sunday without fail, he's usually bringing his son, his daughter, sometimes his niece. He's a wonderful guy. Does a lot of the dirty jobs because of his size. And so it goes. Just some wonderful people who hadn't all met each other, getting to meet each other for the first time. There's Jim Roberts, Vietnam vet, Brown Water Navy. Agent Orange has done a number on him in later years, but he's still going strong. He's a lovely guy. And obviously the speeches, and a good event. Good so far. I'll carry on unless there's any questions, or we're saving those for the end. So isn't that right, Mo?
That's right. And there are some questions already, but we'll save them.
Shall we? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with this bit, and then I'm happy to take those questions.
Okay.
So Valiant is my boat. As I said, she's a Sparkman Stevens, 45-foot sloop. She was built in Buenos Aires. Some might say she's a bootleg Sparkman Stevens. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but she was built, with outside of the Sparkman Stevens company. How the Gutierrez brothers in Buenos Aires came by the plans is a mystery to us. I like to think German Frères may have had a hand in her. Anyway, she was built in '62. Gorgeous Vivaro planking over white oak frames and Honduras mahogany on deck. The Vivaro is their local teak hardwood. It's like iron. It's amazingly durable stuff. Edge plank riveted, a real pretty little thing. And with their cutaway 4-foot, she tacks like a skiff. Monstrous main, though, which we reef pretty much year round. We've taken a number of veterans. Gosh, tried to, we started keeping a log 2 years ago, and since then we've had 80 some odd veterans aboard. So she's a lovely boat. Some of the folks that we have sailed have come from, as I said, the Veteran Justice Court, also the VA's Polytraumatic Rehabilitation Center. So this is where folks that have multiple injuries or traumatic brain injuries will go and convalesce. They'll have a combination of inpatient and outpatient services where they may be living in sort of a transitional sort of apartment type of living with their families before they go home. And we are sort of woven into their fabric by being one of a host of nonprofit activity-based foundations that will provide some therapeutic respite. We'll get a call and say, would you like to take a couple of our patients out sailing for the afternoon? We'll transport them and bring them back. You say, you bet. So that's been great. Also, in the past, we've worked with the Bay Area Association of Disabled Sailors. They have, I believe, still a very good veteran program. Oh, and there you are. Picture on the right is from our voyaging in January. Boy, that was really great. We were able to just ghost down the coast outside the crab pot lines, and just love to see the look on the faces of the vets as the stars came out and then the sun came up. Guys who'd never been sailing before didn't want to give up the helm, things like that. It's great to see. And then it's very wonderful to see Clover come back to life and to get her heading toward the same end, which is back out to sea. So I'm very humble. There were times, I can assure you, when I thought I had bitten way more off than I can chew. And I feel personally I've turned a corner. It's been a defining activity for my life. It has a lot of meaning for me. I love to talk about it and share it. And I've really appreciated the chance to share it with you. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Thanks, Terry. Before I go much farther, Peter and Carol Engler say hi.
Hey, how are you guys? Nice to
Yeah.
see and hear your names.
As a Marine Corps brat and the daughter of a veteran, I want to say thank you for doing this for us tonight too, and for your service and everything you've done when you were active duty and everything you're doing for these veterans. It's pretty amazing and wonderful. And yeah, it's a good way to heal sometimes, isn't it? I had a question from Mark. It looks like Dom, D-A-H-M. He missed the beginning, Terry, and he wants to know, where do you keep the boats now?
They're both at Glen Cove Marina in Vallejo, which is actually between Vallejo and Benicia, if you're familiar. It's a nice little keyhole cove, kind of shallow, brackish, but we fit, and that's where we keep her. It's a fairly inexpensive option for us and still has good access to the bay.
How often do you take the boat out? What will your plans be?
Yeah,
for Clover, what's Clover's plan?
Right, good question. We intend to do the same as we've done with Valiant up until COVID, obviously. We were sailing twice a month, typically picking Sundays. We like to use Sundays as our days. And so 2 Sundays a month we're reserved to working on the boats and 2 for sailing. With Clover's size and the amount of crew that she needs, we're going to see. That's our goal. I think we'll initially probably take her out a couple of times, learn the boat, learn what sailing a big gaffer is all about, develop a standing crew, and go from there.
Going back from Marconi to a gaff rig, what's the difference in the length of your
the mast?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
a
is
great
it wood?
question.
It's also wood mast
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I'll get to your question. This is always great to share. I mentioned that the boatyard was A.R. Luke Brothers in Campbell in Southampton. Well, they also built landing craft. So in 1940, that yard was bombed, gone. So we don't have a drawing. We don't have a document. We don't have a sail plan. We have precious few photographs from previous days. What I do have are 3 wonderful sepia tone photographs from Beacon and Cows, and this is one. It's on the front of our presentation. So I have this, and I have John Leather's book on rigging gaff rig boats, which is a classic. So I have that. I also have Stephen Canwright, who is a retired historian at the San Francisco Maritime Museum, and of course Alan Olson, as we had mentioned, who has provided us wonderful advice from time to time. Anyway, I intend to approach this with as much help as I can muster from experts, but I'm essentially going to scale off of this photo. I know the boat is 60 foot on deck. It gives me a rough estimate, which I'll use to estimate what the height of that mast is from the cabin top, and then we'll cut. I'm also sort of hopeful that the placement for the middle spreaders currently corresponds to the spreaders that she had originally. And of course, we're going to go from a backstay with the Marconi rig to running backstays, so we'll have to figure out the placement and arrangement for that. It should be fun.
So I'm a little bit of a boat nerd. What's her water line and length on water and length on deck? What's
68 overall, 60 on deck, 51 on the water.
Is it full keel?
Full keel, 8 feet 8 inches, a 14 foot 3 inch beam, and 100,000 pounds dead weight.
Wow. Looks like she's got an hourglass stern too. Does she have an hourglass stern?
Yeah, she has she does. She's a double ender, like typical British canoe stern.
Okay, canoe stern. Okay.
Yeah. Gorgeous.
So someone's asking, well, first let me just say Carol Engler, it might be Peter though, I don't know, is saying congratulations on bringing Clover back to her deserved excellent Bay Area life. And, how can people get involved with you, with the program, with Wooden Boats for Veterans?
A number of ways. We love people to come in person and share in the experience. That's always preferred. Come in, lend a hand, find out what we're all about, meet the people, share your experiences. Gosh, if you're a vet, we really would love to see you. Even if you're not a vet, if you're the child of vets, or you have people in your family that were vets and you get it and you want to be around them, come on down. Expertise, always welcome. Supplies, yes, absolutely. We're very fortunate. We have donors that provide supplies and paint and rope. Little short on electricals and engine kind of materials, but we're working on that. So those are some of the ways, and you can go to our website or go to the Facebook page. Details, that'd be great. If not, I find a way to do so.
I think, and we will post this on we have a YouTube site, and so this will all be there, so they'll be able to see as well there. But maybe we'll send out something to everybody. And Mark has also said, I'm just going to answer that for you, Mark. I'm already going to refer him to Ron Young for the Wednesday luncheon for St. Francis. So we had talked about that earlier. She's typing. Anyway, do I have anybody else have any questions? Yes, there's one. Oh, so Terry, tell them about how the gorgeous wheel was restored to her present beauty.
Ah, great. I love that. Um, Bob Darr, Marquez School of Boat Building. I'm not sure if that name is familiar to any of you, but it ought to be. He's a master shipwright, uh, the driving force to restoring Frida. And back in the 80s, when he had a small shop in Marshall, over where he lived, he built a no-ank catboat, which we bought. So our association with Bob goes back quite a ways. Anyway, he offered to rebuild the wheel. He did a marvelous job adding the Turk's head, and that's who did it.
Sweet. So were your questions answered for how to get involved with this program? I'd also like to put a plug in that there's it's a 501c3. Christmas is coming. If you want to make donations this year, this might be a good place to do it. So I guess there was a question here. I didn't see it. It's do you or will you race either vessel in the Master Mariners Regatta? Ooh, and if you did, you know what? You can charge people to do that. Sorry.
The answer is yes. We have. We've campaigned Valiant, and that's a wonderful race. Yep, I wake up in the middle of the night from a dream of bringing Clover across the starting line at the gun, and as I do, we unfurl the colors off of the topping lift of the main, and I want to make that happen. So yeah, at the proper time and when we're ready, we'll for sure make that happen.
Yay. All right. So I think that's it for questions. All right. Again, Terry, tell us again the website. What?
Vetsboats.org. So that's V Victor ETSBOATS.org. Vetsboats.org. Yeah.
And can people sign up online there to help volunteer, or just show up? You can. Okay, good.
We'd be most grateful. That's lovely.
And to put a list out of what you need, what your needs are, or just whoever comes you'll put them to work?
Both. We have a list of our needs on the website, but really, and while we're very grateful for any assistance, we also want to build the community. That's why we're in it.
Well, good. Well, I hope we can all help you do that, some way, shape, or form. So, okay,
It's a real pleasure.
You know, it's been a pleasure to have you. So I'm grateful you could do this, and it worked out. You know, and especially, you know, a celebration of all you veterans. Really, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know.
Well, and I want to say this as well, especially for you, Mo, being a child of veterans, the burden of service falls so often on the families more than it does the veteran. So we want to recognize that and support that too. And so thank you for your service as well.
I was just the daughter. Thank you. Okay, well, everybody, I want to say thank you for coming, and we will be putting this on YouTube, so you'll be able to access it there. And Terry, you'll be able to see it as well, and please feel free to use it if you need to make any other presentations to, you know, donors or, you know, whatever. It's there.
Very kind. You. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and I will see you all next year. And maybe we'll get you back next year, Terry, to do another update. How's that?
I'd love to do that.
Okay, good. Okay, excellent.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you.